Okay, day 94. We still haven't seen Braverman yet. We've heard he's going to be, we've had a press release saying he's going to be the head of the Google Foundation, which is Eric Schmidt's foundation, very closely tied through Amy Rayo in California, who runs the Hillary Clinton Foundation, or Clinton campaign. She's been our campaign manager the last two election cycles. So we'll see if he shows. In this series, I've called it Braverman, Haiti, and Me. I want Braverman to come down to Haiti with me. And one of the things that we focused on is some of the practices going on there by a company by the name of DynCorp. So this is DynCorp here. We're not really going to talk about Osprey Global toppling Libya or Syria or other countries, Sudan or Congo or other countries around the world. We're really talking about once the topple has occurred, then what do the police do when they get there? Okay, so that's for the subject of this series. One of the things we've talked about is looking at one level deeper in the corporate arrangements for DynCorp and looking at who the key players are. And one of the names that has come out is Pug Winokur. Pug Winokur is he invests in DynCorp through a company called Capricorn Investments. Okay. And wherever DynCorp seems to go, there seems to be this whole litany of sex trafficking. For a real eye-opener, go to WikiLeaks and just put in organ harvesting and DynCorp, or organ harvesting in general, and you'll just see a litany of Kosovo, especially, is where this, Kosovo right here. Chris Hill was in Kosovo as the ambassador when all this started. So I'm not talking about just sex trafficking. I'm not talking about just child trafficking, but I'm also talking about organ harvesting. And just put that in WikiLeaks. Maybe I'll do another segment on that, but you'll just see an endless list of places where they've done organ harvesting. You're going to find they did that originally with Idi Amin in Uganda, then they moved down to Sudan, and then they moved into the Congo. So you're going to find all those, as well as Somalia. So it seems, for some reason, it just seems like the African and Haitian nations, I don't know whether there's a racial thing here or not, but just seem to be the targets of more of the organ. Although I guess I'm wrong with that because the Serbs were the target in Kosovo. So maybe it's just an equal opportunity organ harvester. But let's look at Pug Winokur. DynCorp, he manages all the, well, I'll just go to it. I'll just go to the slide. This lady by the name of Catherine Austin Fitts figured the whole thing out in 2002. If you don't know her, Catherine Austin Fitts was the former Assistant Secretary of Housing at HUD. Okay, and she wrote for this paper called From the Wilderness, written by a guy named Michael Rupert. And then you might recognize that name, Peter Dale Scott. He's the guy on the background, the drug triangle, drug, oil, and arms triangle that I started from the very beginning. So I'll go and cover them in a minute, but Michael Rupert used to be a CIA agent, and he was a police officer in Los Angeles, so he was going to be involved with Gary Webb. We're going to go to that slide in a second. But what Catherine Austin Fitts figured out was that DynCorp was responsible for the black budget. It should be budget, I'm sorry. That changed, because that was budget when I typed it in. DynCorp's responsible for the entire black budget of all these agencies, 30 different agencies in all. And she started by looking at bad loans through BCCI. So BCCI, as you know, was Mark Rich's bank, and who he laundered all the drug funds through, and he laundered all of Gaddafi's oil money through, and he laundered all the money from political contributions, as well as like the Clintons' Mena Airport money. So she started at HUD, and it was the same Arkansas Development Financing Authority thing. You'd put the bonds out on Wall Street, fill up the account, give out $1 million loan for a $50,000 campaign contribution. And then as time has gone by, the Clintons have raised that. So you get $1 million if you give a $100,000 contribution. Then it was $200,000. So it's gone up over time. It's inflated over time, but it's still the same loans for donations scheme. Okay, and she pulled on this golden thread, what I call it, the golden thread that kind of unwinds everything. And she figured it out. DynCorp is responsible for the $3 trillion. right there, 2002. So I'm not the smart one here. It's Catherine Austin Fitts. And then she just kept pulling the thread and figured out, wait, DynCorp manages all the electronic records and electronic deposits, fund deposits through a software program called Promise, P-R-O-M-I-S. And it's for every one of these agencies, okay? So FBI, CIA, Department of Justice, CIA, and Department of Defense. Well, the way the Pug Winokur and the folks at CIA did this was they started at the Department of Defense and gradually got the control of all the electronic records, all the employee records, and financial assets. And they managed that contract, believe it or not. DynCorp manages that black budget. So they got and it'll show in 2002 or something, they got about a $300 million budget to manage the black budget for all these agencies. This is where back then it was $3 trillion. This is now $6.5 trillion. Actually, there are rumors that it's actually $9 trillion now because they printed $2 more trillion at the Federal Reserve with Obama. So it could be between 6.7 and 9 trillion. Catherine Austin Fitts figured it all out. Okay, so I wanted to talk about how you get rid of people that report on stuff like that. And this didn't print out quite like I typed it in, but anyway. This is Michael Rupert, and he was the guy who in Los Angeles reported and said, hey, crack cocaine is coming into Los Angeles. You might remember Maxine Waters was just livid. You know, that's her district, South Central Los Angeles, when this story broke originally. And he was the guy who said, yeah, CIA agents are doing this. You know, they're giving it to the Blood and the Crips, and they're doing the gang counter gang thing, and this is wrong. And crack, for those who don't know, it doesn't have to be refined like you know, purified cocaine. It can be actually cracked in a village in Colombia with a mortar and pestle type situation and through several cookings. So it was going to be this new wonder thing because they didn't have to go through a refinery. That step was skipped. And Gary Webb, another guy who reported on it, talked about how the Iran-Contra was financed through crack. I mean, there he is. So, and my name is George Webb Swigert, by the way, so I'm not using that as an homage toward Gary, but he is my favorite journalist by far. But both these guys die through, when a reporter comes out and something's very high visible, you can't just kill him. Sometimes you can, like Michael Hastings. But for the most part, it attracts too much attention. So what you do is you do this disrupt, D&D they call it. There's two different programs, diffuse and disrupt, and then disrupt and death. But what you do is you create this revenge motive, and CIA has recruited these revenge groups literally since the first day it was created. It first started, this is Alan Dulles again. You implant a revenge motive in a group. This is Laura Silsby's group. This is the New Refuge Child Life group. These people are committed people. They really believe what they're doing. They've been planted a revenge motive by saying that they are rescuing kids that are being abused. Okay, so they think they're doing God's work, saving children from being abused. And the CIA is giving them the names and saying, we are tracking this with Palantir software, okay? And we've been watching them, we've been surveilling them, and we know these kids are under duress. So that's how you get good people. And this is where Catherine Silsby, maybe one of the best people you ever met. If you talk to these people, I'll bet you they say she's one of the best people they ever met because she's done all these rescues. So this goes back to Dulles creating Catholics in Action. This is all around the world that there was going to be these religious groups that were committed to doing the right thing. And this is a group that will do what they think is right in God's eyes versus whatever the law is. So they'll do whatever, including murder. And I can talk a little bit more about how they do that, but they created another group called Christians in Action, and then because Catholics wasn't enough in the United States, and there's been hundreds of these groups that they have all over the country, okay, to do this kind of What you do is you basically try to break the guy's marriage up, which they did with Gary Webb. Same thing with Michael Rupert. Then you try to get them fired from their job and discredited, which they did in both of these cases. And then these guys, don't have a means of income, so they're, kind of living with friends, working down their savings. And then you try to, introduce a health problem, But this is a long, gradual, slow kill over time. Then finally, the guys are, living in a trailer, from, at their friend's ranch, and through kind of a daily harassment, they end up, finally committing suicide. Now, I believe that Michael did commit suicide eventually, but so you're going to do a search with him and Pug Winokur, because that's who killed Michael Rupert. Didn't directly. They did it through these kind of Christian action groups. But with Gary Webb, I believe he was shot because he had the whole gun in the hand and two bullets, and I don't know who anybody commits suicide that way. But that's the story, and this is, I'm in the same program. I hate to say that, but it's true. So anyway, I wanted to introduce kind of the PATH Foundation. And the PATH Foundation is run by a guy named Eric Braverman, believe it or not. And he is an anti-aging guru. So he can talk to you about all different sorts of anti-aging strategies, including transfusions through Peter Thiel, the founder of Palantir Software. And he can probably also talk to you about heart transplants and other transplantation organs. How do we know How do we know him? Well, he started after Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, folded her foundation in 2011 in New York. She started another one, or got involved in another one with Eric Braverman, Dr. Braverman. Now, the reason why they always go with the celebrity is because that brings in the dollars and brings in the customers. They want a rich set of customers that are aging. It's very important. Okay, so I think everybody sees where this is going. And he's had he's spent $4.5 million on his divorce, and the reason is that there's a customer list here of all of his customers that's going to be the customers that are the organ recipients. So if we get that list of customers, and I don't know anybody who would spend $4.5 million on a divorce case, and I think you're going to find an interesting person that's his daughter. You're going to find an interesting person that's his daughter. So I'll just leave that for there. You got to have something left for the other shows, right? So what I also said about murderers, okay, people will commit murder. You would think sometimes it's the Harambe guys, the special forces guys, but they leave a lot of blood everywhere. And, in Chile they had a lot of blood, and in Argentina there was blood everywhere. These women, what they do are the ones who are victimized that don't even know that they're in the CIA program, don't even know that it's the CIA having these police gang rape these women, okay? Some of these women, they try to turn into being assassins. And the revenge motive is, we're going to get back at all these guys that gang raped you. So you're seeing a lot of movies come out with this revenge motive. This is kind of the thing where these women find out. Those depictions, I saw a couple recently, are of this situation. And what they leave out, they always leave out the CIA component, but everything else is the same. The women are going around to this list of people. And what they do is they use the brownstone, collect a set of people that if they ever don't vote for NDAA or whatever, don't do what they want them to do, they actually send these girls in to kill them. And I'll tell you exactly how it's done. It's a covert operation where the room is, or wherever the person, the target is. Let's just say it's well, okay, I'll make Chris Hill here. Chris Hill's the target. We gas the house, and the house could be full of people, dogs, everything. Everybody's out cold, incapacitated, and this woman comes in with a little slip knot like a tie, and just this gas, and I don't know if it's sarin or if it's fentanyl based or whatever, but what I believe it does is it inhibits you have the fight or flight mechanism in your system. You also have the rest and relax system, which is I believe the parasympathetic system. I'm just going off my memory, but the acetylcholine you're very close to death. Your vagus nerve controls your heart from your brain. I think it's stem 7, I believe that's the vagus nerve. You're very close to death, and all you need is a little tiny slip knot over your throat to cut off oxygen just a little bit, and every coroner in America will say you died in your sleep. You had breathing problems, you died in your sleep. That's how I think they're going to finally end up doing me. But they set it up with cracking your ribs at one night, and then you end up with having asthma, and they kind of build this, storyline, and then one night that oh, he had breathing problems, he died in the middle of the night. You're going to find Jim Henson is going to be that situation. So anyway, I don't want to get too many mysteries solved here because, like I say, I want to leave something. But this all started, I keep going back to this, this all started in 1995 with the National Intelligence Security Act, but then with this, 1998, this presidential directive, Decision Directive 62, this disruption campaign was started. And that is going to be this program, okay, that starts out here at the University of Denver. Now, everyone's sending me information saying, do you realize that University of Denver started a medical school and there's disappearances and, organ harvesting at University of Denver? We'll get there. We'll get there. I don't want to, like I say, I can only provide evidence so quickly. So anyway, this is Monica Petersen. We have to focus on her. You're going to find that there's going to be a lot of girls like Monica Petersen, not just one. Because unfortunately, once they turn a girl to doing some killings, they often then kill the girl, and then they'll have a disappearance. So you're going to find the investment advisor for Trump, for instance, was killed by one of these, I'll just call them Slipknot girls. And she's going to be from New Jersey. So there's a group in New Jersey that does this, and there's a group in Chicago, and then there's a group in Denver. So, okay, that's it for this morning.